You are about to hear something the world was never meant to know. Something the highest walls of the Vatican could not contain. No book recorded it. No cardinal confessed it. No news outlet dared to report it. And yet, here you are, drawn by something unseen, something ancient. Maybe the same unseen force that made a silent nun, locked away behind cold monastery walls, break her vow of secrecy, and write a letter that reached the very throne of Peter itself. It wasn't a sermon. It wasn't a prophecy written in thick leather books. It was just 3 words on a torn piece of parchment. 3 simple words that made the most powerful man in the church, the vicar of Christ himself, Pope Leo XIV, fall to his knees and weep. His aides said they'd never seen him like that. His hands trembled. His cross slipped from his grip. His breath caught in his chest. And when they asked what was wrong, he could not speak. The letter fell from his hands, and on that parchment were written the words, "He is coming." No signature, no explanation, only those 3 words. But here's what the Vatican won't tell you. The letter wasn't ordinary. Under the sacred light of the papal library, the words glowed, softly, like burning embers. When the scholars held the parchment to the flame, it refused to burn. When touched by bare hands, the ink felt warm, alive, like fresh blood. Some whispered that it was divine, others said it was the devil's trap. But Pope Leo XIV, he knew who wrote it. A nun, a woman no one had seen in years, a woman the Curia called dangerous, a woman they tried to silence, but heaven had other plans. They called her the voice in the walls, not because she preached, but because she prayed. And when she prayed, they say the walls whispered back. She spoke to no one, she wrote to no one, except him, the Pope, the shepherd. And when her message arrived, it broke him. What did she see? What did she know? And why did she choose this moment to speak? This is not just history, this is warning. A warning meant not for popes and bishops alone, but for you. Yes, you watching this now. Because the words of that letter, they carry a weight that falls on every heart that believes, on every soul that waits. He is coming. But who? And when? And why now? Some say it means the return of the King. Others whisper of betrayal in the church's highest ranks. And there are those in the darkest corners of Rome, who fear it means something else entirely, a cleansing, a storm, a reckoning. You are not here by accident. You were meant to hear this, to know what they have hidden. Because the church trembles not from enemies without, but from secrets within. Before we begin, tell me, friend, have you ever felt truth so deep it burned your chest, made your eyes sting with tears, made your knees weak beneath the weight of knowing? If you have, type Amen below, because you are not alone. And subscribe, because the world needs witnesses to the light, to the truth, to the storm that is coming. She had no social media, no sermons broadcast to the world, no podcasts, no Instagram followers, no interviews on Catholic radio, only silence, a stone cell, a rosary worn thin by trembling fingers, and a quiet habit of slipping handwritten notes into the courier's bag that made its way to the apostolic palace, addressed to one man, Pope Leo XIV. For years, the Holy Father received these little messages, sometimes a single word, sometimes a verse from the Psalms, sometimes just the shape of a cross drawn in trembling ink. The Curia dismissed them. Pious nonsense from an overzealous cloistered mind, they said, but not Leo. No, Leo read them all, carefully, prayerfully, because he knew something the others didn't. The Vatican archives list her simply as Sister M of the Cross, but those who once served in the same convent, those rare few who dared to whisper her story, they called her something else. The voice in the walls. Why? Because they said she heard whispers, not the rambling voices of madness, not the dark mutterings of temptation, but the clear, impossible whisper of the Spirit. They say at night while the others slept, she stood in her cell, Her face turned to the crumbling plaster, lips barely moving as she spoke to someone only she could hear. And when she listened, her eyes filled with tears, and her hands shook, and she wrote. And this time, what she wrote changed everything. A single letter, 3 words, folded neatly, placed by her frail hand into the leather bag of a passing Vatican courier. And when that letter reached the desk of Leo XIV, Rome itself trembled. The Pope sat in silence as he read it. His fingers gripped the edges of the parchment. His eyes, usually steady, burned with sudden tears. A moment passed, 2, and then, without a word, he fell to his knees. His aides found him like that, cross on the marble floor, tears staining his cheeks, mouth whispering over and over again, "She knows. She sees what we do not, what we refuse to see." What could make the vicar of Christ, the successor of Peter, weep like a broken man? The answer lay on the letter itself. 3 words, not a sermon, not a warning of war or scandal or heresy, just this: "He is coming." But it wasn't the words. No, it was how they appeared. The parchment was ordinary, but the ink, strange. When held beneath the lamps of the Vatican library, the words flickered, faint and glowing, as if written in living flame. A technician tested the paper under ultraviolet light. The words gleamed like fresh blood, warm to the touch. Impossible, they said, and yet, there it was. Pope Leo XIV wrote that night in his private journal, "The ink, it breathes. It warms the fingers like flesh. It does not fade." His entry ended with a single line, a chilling confession: "It knows me." Was this the sign of Christ's return, a coming judgment, a schism long prophesied by the mystics of old? No one knew. The Pope said only this to his secret confessor: "Prepare the hearts, not the bunkers. The fire is not outside, it is within." And there were stranger things still. Reports came from the nuns' convent that her hands, her small, frail hands, left golden dust on everything she touched. The altar cloth, her breviary, even the cheeks of the novices she blessed in silence. Skeptics scoffed. But when the dust was gathered and tested by the Vatican's own laboratories, the result was clear. 99.9% pure gold. Impossible, unexplained, and still real. Was this the mark of a saint, or something far more mysterious? Was this the Spirit's fingerprint, or heaven's warning? And then came the discovery no one expected. When the letter was examined under the highest magnification, a 4th word appeared, so faint it could barely be seen. Soon, almost invisible, almost erased. But there. Who added it? Was it the nun herself? Was it written by the Spirit's hand, or by another force entirely? The Curia argued in secret. The scholars wrote endless pages of analysis. But Leo XIV said nothing. Only this: "She has spoken. We must listen." 3 days later, the Pope vanished from public view. He locked himself in the sacristy of St. Peter's for 72 hours. No food, no water, only prayer and tears. When he emerged, his face was pale, his eyes red, swollen. And as he passed his frightened aides, they heard him whisper, "She sees what we refuse to." What did she see? A scandal? A betrayal? A great shaking of the church itself? Or something older? Something that stirs beneath the stones of Rome, waiting for its hour? The Pope never explained. He never spoke of the letter again, but his last sermon hinted at a storm that would purify and burn. And the nun? What of her? The woman called the voice in the walls? She was gone, vanished from her cell, no trace, no farewell. Nothing but a faint scent of roses left in the stone corridor. Some say heaven took her. Some say the church hid her. Some fear she walks among us still. And her message remains, unanswered, unfulfilled, waiting. He is coming, but who? The shepherd? The judge? The thief in the night? This is not history. This is warning. For you. Yes, you. Watching now. What will you do when the storm breaks, when the veil lifts, when the silence ends? Before you leave, I ask you, friend, have you ever heard the whisper of the Spirit? In dreams? In the still hours of the night? Type whisper if you have. For you are not alone, we are listening, together. And subscribe, because this is only the first letter. The second is far more terrifying. 3 days, that's how long Pope Leo XIV disappeared. 3 full days behind the locked doors of the sacristy, where no voice but God's could enter, no aides, no cardinals, no guards, only him and the letter. They say the light in the sacristy burned all night. They say, from the hallway outside, the priest could hear the faint sound of weeping. Not sobbing, not despair, but something quieter, heavier, as if a soul had seen something it could not carry. When he emerged, his face was not the same. It was pale, aged. His hands trembled slightly as they gripped the golden handle of the sacristy door. And those nearest to him, his trusted chamberlain, his oldest advisor, swore they heard him whisper as he stepped into the light, "She sees what we refuse to." What had he seen in that silent chamber? What had the Spirit spoken in the stillness? Or what had the letter revealed when no eyes but his could see? A leak from the Vatican, a quiet voice in the Curia, claimed that the Holy Father during those hidden hours wrote a secret document, a confession, sealed and hidden beneath the altar of St. Peter himself. But no one has dared open it. No one knows what it says, except him. But we know this. On the third night, as the moon rose above the dome of the basilica, Pope Leo XIV knelt before the ancient crucifix of the sacristy and spoke aloud. Only one priest overheard the whispered words before he slipped away unseen. And what the Pope said was this: "The storm is upon us, the great storm, and the Church must choose." A storm, not of rain or wind or fire, but of truth, of revelation, of unveiling. For years, decades, prophets in secret had warned of this hour, of a time when the Church would be tested not from the outside, but from within, when its shepherds would be sifted like wheat, when the mask of holiness would slip from the faces of many. And now, Leo knew. He knew what the nun had seen. He knew why she wept behind her stone walls, why she risked everything to send that letter, because the great shaking was coming. But there was more, a final word, a chilling confirmation. For when the Pope emerged, the first words he spoke to his terrified aides were these: "Prepare the hearts, not the bunkers. Not the walls, not the treasures, not the power, but the hearts, yours, mine, the Church's." Because this storm could not be stopped by walls of marble or vaults of gold. It would tear through the souls of men, revealing, burning, purifying. What was this storm? A scandal hidden in the highest places? A division waiting to break the Church in two? Or something older? Something whispered by the saints and feared by the prophets? Some believed it was the sign of the last times, a preparation for the coming of the King. Others feared it was the rise of the great deceiver within the walls of Rome itself, a Judas in the sanctuary, a false light in sacred robes. But Leo said nothing more. He returned to his chapel, and from that day forward, he spoke rarely. He ate little, and the sparkle that once filled his wise old eyes dimmed. He had seen too much, felt too much, and the burden was crushing. And yet the nun's words haunted him, haunted us. He is coming. Who? The judge? The shepherd? Or in the thief? And then came the greatest fear of all, a secret spoken by an anonymous voice in the Vatican archives. The Holy Father spoke of the fisherman's tears, and when asked what this meant, no one knew, except the nun. But she was gone, vanished without a trace, her cell empty, her veil folded neatly on the stone slab. No footprints, no farewell, only the faint scent of roses and the whisper of unseen wings. Some say heaven took her, others whisper darker things, a silence enforced by those who feared her message, a silencing eternal. But the storm she warned of, it still gathers, still waits, and you, yes, you watching this now, you were meant to hear this. Because when the veil lifts, when the silence breaks, it is not the curia, nor the cardinals, nor the princes of the church who will stand. It is the faithful, the ones who heard the whisper and prepared. Type storm if you believe the church is being tested, if you feel the winds of change stirring the soul of the bride of Christ, and subscribe, because this storm is only beginning. The second letter has not yet been revealed. But who was this woman? This silent messenger who shook the throne of Peter with 3 trembling words. Her name was erased from the official records. The Curia made sure of that. No photos, no documents released to the public. Only a simple title remains in the dusty margins of the Vatican archives: Sister M of the Cross. No birthplace listed, no family, no history, as if she appeared and disappeared, like a breath between 2 prayers. But those who knew her, those old nuns who survived the cloister, whispered her past in secret like frightened children telling ghost stories in the dark. And what they said was this: she was not always silent. As a child, she spoke with fire. At the age of 6, they said, she wandered into the church garden and fell to her knees before a thorny rose bush. And there she saw a woman clothed in light, the Virgin, smiling softly, a single tear tracing her cheek. The little girl ran to the parish priest, wide-eyed, breathless, and told him. But the priest only frowned. He told her mother it was hysteria, foolish imagination, a child's dream. But the rosebush never bloomed again. And from that day, the girl fell silent. Her voice was gone, as if the vision had stolen her speech and replaced it with listening. At 13, the wounds began. On Good Friday, her palms bled. Tiny red circles appeared in the skin. She tried to hide them beneath her sleeves, but the other sisters saw, and word reached Rome. Vatican officials came, cold men in black suits. They examined her hands, photographed them, pressed their fingers into the wounds, but no explanation came, no proof, no declaration. Inconclusive, they said, but not denied, and they left. But the strangest gift of all was her hands, the golden hands. It began with the prayer books, pages left faintly dusted with glittering gold. At first they thought it was powder, a trick of candlelight, but the dust grew, on altar cloths, on the crucifix in her cell, on the cheeks of novices she touched in blessing. And when a curious bishop gathered the dust and sent it to the lab, the result stunned them all. 99.9% pure gold. Impossible, without source, without explanation. Pilgrims came secretly in the night, poor women, sick children, old men with trembling hands, and when she touched them, the gold remained. Some called it a miracle, a sign of sanctity. Others whispered fearfully, witchcraft, delusion, danger. But Leo XIV knew better. He wrote once in his private diary, "The smallest roses have the sharpest thorns." For those who carry heaven's touch often carry its wounds. But the strangest thing of all was how the Curia feared her. They watched her, listened for any word spoken aloud. They sent men to test her, to trap her, but she spoke no heresy, preached no rebellion, only silence and prayer, and those golden hands. A silence more dangerous than any speech, because it could not be controlled, it could not be silenced, and in that silence heaven whispered. And then came the letter, the 3 words that shook the Vatican to its bones. And after that, she was gone, vanished from the cloister, her cell abandoned, her veil left folded on the stone slab. No farewell, no trace, only the faint scent of roses and gold dust glimmering in the morning sun. They searched, they questioned, they dug through the records, but there was nothing, as if she had been taken, lifted, or hidden by forces greater than Rome. And so her past remains a mystery, her gifts unclaimed, her miracles unproven, but her message undeniable. He is coming, 3 words, and a 4th, unseen. soon. What did she see? What did the Spirit whisper in the walls? And why did she choose now to speak? This is not legend. This is not myth. This is the testimony of those who lived in fear and wonder beneath the dome of the greatest church on earth. A warning, not for the wise, but for you. And so I ask you again, friend, do you believe in miracles? Do you believe the Spirit still speaks to the quiet ones, the hidden ones? If you do, type gold below, for the golden hand has touched the world, and the mark remains. And subscribe, because this is not the end. The greatest mystery is yet to be revealed. But why? Why would the Vatican fear a quiet nun who spoke no word aloud? Why would the princes of the church, the men in crimson robes and golden rings, tremble at the letters of a silent sister? The answer, friend, lies not in what she said, but in what she saw. For in 2024, a cardinal, his name never revealed, called her dangerously naive. He warned the Pope in secret, behind the walls of the Apostolic Palace. This woman's visions are a threat to the Church's stability. Her words will bring panic, division, loss. But Leo XIV refused him. He knew better. He knew the true danger was not her message, but its clarity. Her first crime, they said, was the sermon, a homily she wrote, secretly, on scraps of paper hidden in her Bible. Its title, The Church's Coming Crucifixion. The Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith, keepers of orthodoxy, guardians of dogma, read it and banned it instantly. But one fragment leaked, smuggled by trembling hands to the outside, and this is what it said: "You will know the true shepherds. They will smell like my wounds. Not power, not glory, not Rome's splendor, but wounds, suffering, a bleeding church tested in fire." This terrified them. For if her words were true, then what was coming would strip away every mask, every false comfort, every lie. But her second crime was worse. After Leo XIV's death, the nun vanished, gone, without trace, her cell empty, her veil untouched, and the whispers began. Some said she was taken to a secret monastery, hidden by the church, far from Rome, where no one could find her. Others said she was silenced, by force or worse, gone beyond this world, taken by heaven before the storm broke. But a third theory, darker than the rest, emerged from the shadows. That she had disappeared willingly, that she was called to wander, a hidden prophet sent to the far corners of the world to prepare the faithful in secret, a voice in the wilderness. But the most chilling revelation of all was her final prophecy, her last known words, written on the back of an old missal. 7 words that froze the heart of every priest who read them. Tell them, the key is under the fisherman's tears. What did it mean? Was this a clue to Peter's tomb beneath the basilica? A warning of a future pope in hiding? A prophecy of exile, betrayal, collapse? No one knows. The scholars argued, the bishops prayed, but no answer came. And so the file was sealed, the documents hidden, the whispers forbidden. But heaven does not obey silence, the Spirit does not bow to secrecy. And her words, her message, slipped free, carried by those who still believe, carried to you now. Because the storm she foresaw has not passed. It gathers, still, quiet as dawn, cold as shadow, waiting. And the fisherman's tears still fall. The question is not, what did she see? The question is whether you see it too. Look closely, friend. Watch the world, watch the church, for the signs she whispered are all around you now. And if you wish to know more, to find her, to uncover the mystery they buried, type "find her" below. Let Rome know the faithful still watch, still wait, still hope. And subscribe, because this is only the beginning. So now, you know. The story they tried to bury, the letter they tried to burn, the woman they tried to silence. But you also know this. Her message was not meant for popes alone. not for cardinals, not for cloistered walls or hidden vaults. It was meant for you. Yes, you. Because the storm she spoke of is no longer far away. Its first winds already blow through the halls of the church. You have felt them, haven't you? The uneasy silence in the homilies, the restless shifting of shepherds in high places, the quiet turning of faithful hearts, wondering, waiting, trembling. You were meant to hear this, not by accident, not by curiosity, but by design, by providence. Because the day is coming when the silence will break, and when it does, the truth will flood like light through shattered glass. And the most terrifying part, the part even the Vatican fears, is this. This was not the only letter. No, my friend, there was a second letter, sealed, hidden, buried in the secret archives of the Holy See. A letter that speaks of a pope in exile, a shepherd driven from his throne, a time when the chair of Peter will stand empty as the storm breaks. Next week, we will reveal it, the second prophecy, the message they fear even more. But for now, a choice stands before you. Will you pretend this is only story, only myth, a strange tale from old stones and dying saints? Or will you see the signs unfolding even now in the world outside your window? Before this storm breaks, the faithful must wake, prepare, pray. So if you feel the weight of this truth, if you feel the Spirit stirring in the shadows, if you have ears to hear what heaven still whispers, then type anchor below, for only truth will hold us fast in the winds to come. And subscribe, because the world will not tell you, Rome will not tell you. But here the veil lifts, here the silence breaks. The light shines in the darkness, but will you see it?